Hello, abnormal family. Got a little shorter story for you than what I've had lately, but I'm going to share it with you and you let me know what you think. Excuse me. It was April 2023 when I was helping one of my friends who particularly lived in the woods. He practically was always there. I had only believed in ghosts before this, as I'd experienced encounters with them. However, this thing was no ghost. It was a physical being. You can call me Doru. My friend called me on my night off and said, "Hey Drew, would you mind coming over and helping me look for my dog? He ran off and hasn't come back." I could hear the stress in his voice. So I sighed and I replied, "I told you to keep him on a leash." His dog was a Rottweiler and a pit bull mix, but she was a big softy and thought she was a lapdog. I got dressed, grabbed my jacket and helmet, took my bike out of the shed, and locked everything up. I hit the road, and Jay's house was not far from mine, about 2 or 3.5 hours away. I always took a quiet little road that I enjoyed riding down. But that night, I could feel something watching me. I didn't know from which direction the eyes watching me came from, so I sped up. Still, I could feel those eyes on me. I caught a quick glance of something black as the night. I accelerated again, and whatever was keeping up with me. But as I sped up for the second time, I saw blue eye shine. What animal has blue eye shine? However, as soon as I saw the glowing eyes, it disappeared, but I still had that feeling of being watched. So I didn't stop until I reached Jay's house. He was waiting for me outside with flashlights in hand. I told him to open the garage so I could put my bike in. Usually I leave my bike outside, but as soon as I pulled up, that feeling of being watched intensified. I kept my helmet on, and Jay asked, "Are you okay?" Even with my helmet on, he could hear me clearly. I replied, "I just feel like I'm being watched." I've even asked him for one of his pistols before we headed out. We went in different directions to search for the dog. I had the pistol drawn with the flashlight in my other hand. I kept going until I found a trail, as if something big and heavy had been dragged. I followed it, and that feeling of being followed intensified. I kept looking side to side, regretting not taking off my helmet. I was paying attention to the ground until I stepped in a thick, dark flood. I found his dog, or rather, what was left of her. Her neck was torn out, and there were claw marks on her sides, as if if I hadn't been wearing my helmet, I probably would have vomited. I quickly grabbed her blood-soaked collar. That's when I heard growling, like when you take a dog's food away while it's eating. I looked around with the flashlight and pistol ready, and I found the source of the growling. This thing was tall. It was over 7'3", or maybe even 7'7". It was covered in black fur with a head that resembled a massive dog's, but it was standing on two legs, and its arms seemed too long. I followed its arms down to its hands, which had 3 main fingers, and a thumb with black 5-inch claws coated in something caked on them. Blood was dripping off its hands. I snapped back to its face when it growled again. I raised a pistol and aimed it right at it. It took a step forward and opened its hands. I fired 2 rounds into the chest, but it didn't even notice the shots. I backed up, wishing I had something bigger than this little .22. I turned and ran. I won't lie, I think I pissed myself. The thing was right behind me. I yelled, "Jay, run, you idiot, run." He started running as well. The thing behind me must have thrown something at my head, but thanks to my helmet, it didn't knock me down. Jay reached the house first, as he was closer. He had the back door open and was screaming at me. I powered on until the thing slammed into the ground behind him. Rolled over to see if it was still following me. It was on all fours, and I swear to God this thing was smiling. I fired 2 more rounds into its shoulder and left arm. It stumbled as Jay slammed the door and locked it. Jay was yelling at me. What the hell was that? I got off the ground and ran to all the doors and windows. Finally, I took off my helmet and discovered a gash in it. That's when we heard claws on stone. I said, "Shut up and listen." We could hear heavy breathing. Jay noticed the blood-soaked collar in my hand. He looked like a mix of fear and rage. That's when we heard tapping on the window, as if it wanted us to look at it. I subconsciously turned around and Jay was freaking out. The thing had a full-toothed grin on its face. Jay grabbed his shotgun, shaking from fear. The thing backed off, realizing that Jay was the bigger threat. I stayed the night unable to sleep because of the sounds of footsteps around the house. Just as dawn was approaching, we heard a massive howl that sent chills down our spines. Then we heard footsteps running away from the house. I didn't leave until the sun was up. Jay kept the shotgun with him all night. I gave him the collar and watched him cry. I felt bad for him as his beautiful king dog. I had him watch me until he was out of sight. I did not take that road home. I took another road at full speed, not stopping for anything. Miraculously, I managed not to get pulled over. After that night, I bought a car, got a gun permit, and concealed carry license. My warning to my fellow motorcyclists: don't go down any dark forest roads at night. Wait until day or go in a group that's armed. Whatever you do, do not do what I did. Do not ride in the dark in these old dark roads. These things will chase you, and if they catch you, they will shred you and they will eat you, and they will probably call it a motorcycle accident. I know they cover these things up. I also lost a dog, and my dog was a Rottweiler. My dog, I believe, gave it a pretty good fight because there was blood in the backyard, but unfortunately my Rottweiler succumbed to the damage that it had received by these creatures. They're massive, they do get hurt, they do bleed, and they do die. It just takes a lot to kill them. So be careful, guys, if you're hunting these things, because I promise, they're a lot better adapted for the night than we are. Thanks for watching, guys. Keep your head on a swivel.